Tell us to do something for God's country and get back to work. That's a good one. I'm going to kick your butt, ch. Can you threaten to kick me in a funny way? Rick Harrison just dropped a bombshell. He might have to shut down Pawn Stars for good after Chumlee's shocking life sentence. The show that turned an ordinary pawn shop into a television empire is now on the brink of collapse. Scandals, betrayals and financial disasters have pushed the father into a corner. Could this really be the end of the legendary shop that made history come alive for millions? Tune in, because what happens is the confirmation of a total collapse in Rick's life. The pawn shop empire that fell apart. The gold and silver pawn shop was once just a family-run business built by Richard "Old Man" Harrison in Las Vegas. With his sharp business sense and no-nonsense attitude, he made sure the shop thrived, earning the respect of customers and viewers alike. After his passing in 2018, the weight of keeping everything together fell on Rick's shoulders. At first it seemed like he could handle it, but as the years went by, cracks began to show, and those cracks quickly turned into deep fractures. Before we dive deeper, it's clear that the truth behind Pawn Stars' downfall is far more devastating than anyone expected, and what comes next will leave you completely stunned. The shop's owner had always known that running a pawn shop wasn't just about gold and silver, it was about the stories behind every item that was the key to success. But while Pawn Stars made history fun for viewers, what was happening behind the scenes was anything but entertaining. Told me no, you can't get a punch. In Las Vegas, and I asked him why, and they pulled out the city code. And apparently what happened in 1955, the good old boys got together. Family feuds, lawsuits and financial disasters were building up, and soon enough the show's golden years were fading away. The biggest blow came when his own mother, Joanne Harrison, took legal action against him. A lawsuit filed in Nevada accused him of mishandling her share of the family business. According to Joanne, she was tricked into signing away her majority stake while recovering from a coma. But it didn't stop there. She also claimed that after her husband passed, she never received the money and assets she was owed. To make matters worse, she said she had been blocked from accessing financial records, leaving her in the dark about where her money had gone. He denied everything, calling the accusations baseless. He even suggested that his mother was being manipulated by others who wanted to take advantage of her. But no matter who was right, the damage had already been done. The family that once seemed so solid was now at war, and Pawn Stars was at the center of it all. And just when things couldn't get any worse, Chumlee, the show's funny guy, got bad press for all the wrong reasons. From rumors that quickly turned into a full-blown legal problem. I sold it to him for $1,500 and also sold the other poster. Dude, we're already out of money. If I wanted to sell them, I would have done it myself. I mean, I had a spot cleared on the wall for him. Fans who had watched Pawn Stars from the start were shocked when accusations of serious crimes led to an investigation that ended with a life sentence. The beloved funny sidekick was now facing the worst possible outcome, and the whole show was in danger. A scandal broke out at the pawn shop. The shop, which used to be a tourist attraction, started losing money quickly. In 2020, it only made $337,000. This was a huge drop from the millions of dollars it used to make. The COVID-19 pandemic played a part, but the growing number of legal problems only made things worse. I used to work 135 days without a day off, so these days off are really nice. Lawsuits, scandals, and the loss of a key cast member had turned what used to be a thriving business into a sinking ship. The shop's owner had fought hard to keep things going, but even he couldn't hide the truth. His reputation was ruined, his family was torn apart, and his finances were in freefall. Falling apart might have been the only way for the pawn shop to get through hard times in the past, but this was a different kind of failure that would leave scars that would never go away. The family drama just took a wild turn, and it's not looking good for the famous Pawn Stars frontman. His own mother Joanne went to court and slapped him with a restraining order, and it wasn't just any legal move. She was trying to stop him from selling off family assets. She claimed he had been sending her massive payments, over $200,000 at first, but then out of nowhere the money dried up in 2020, and if that wasn't enough, Joanne was already in bad health, needing round-the-clock care that cost more than $100,000 a month. But here's the kicker: he had no idea she was even taking legal action until he read about it in the news. That's right, his own mother took him to court and he didn't hear it from her. He said he tried reaching out to her for months, but there was nothing but silence. Whether she was being blocked from talking to him, Or just didn't want to. Nobody knows. Either way, this wasn't the first time someone from the Pawn Stars crew had legal trouble while he was battling it out with his own mother. His longtime friend and cast member Chumlee was in the middle of his own scandal, and this one was way worse. The problems with Pawn Stars were already bad, but what happened next made things even worse. This time it wasn't just about business, it was about crime. The crime's Chumlee, who was known for being silly, had a dark side that no one saw coming. In 2012, he was caught on camera in a brutal fight outside of a Hollywood nightclub. The other guy was left battered and bleeding on the sidewalk while Chumlee ran off like nothing happened. He said it was self-defense because the other guy had threatened him with a gun, but that didn't stop the video from going viral. As if that wasn't bad enough, what took place: the police raided Chumlee's house in 2016 as part of an assault investigation. They found a lot of illegal weapons and methamphetamine, which would make anyone nervous. Since he was responsible for the assault, he was hit with almost 20 felony charges for illegal weapons and drugs. At that point, he couldn't talk his way out of it. With a list of illegal drugs and unregistered firearms in his house, he had no choice but to take a plea deal. He admitted to having an illegal gun and trying to possess illegal drugs, avoiding a serious prison sentence. Just when it seemed like Pawn Stars' legal problems couldn't get any worse, another member of the crew got caught up in a crazy scandal of his own. For Corey Harrison, Rick's son had always wanted to take over the family business, but he wasn't exactly being a good son when he stopped at a pub in Jefferson City on a crazy motorbike tour. Things quickly got out of hand. People who saw him said he had been drinking a lot for days before he lost it in the middle of the bar. There were unmarked police cars all over his house, and he was arrested for the drugs and guns they found. What happened next was embarrassing. He reportedly urinated in public and threw a bar stool across the room. The bar's security finally had enough and kicked him out, but the damage to his reputation was already done. Corey thought he could talk his way out of anything, but trouble always seemed to find him. He couldn't stay out of the news, and it wasn't for good reasons. In 2021, he was back in the news, but this time it was for a bad reason. Reports said he rented an RV for a simple trip in the California desert, but when he returned it was a wreck that looked like it had been through a tornado. The story didn't make sense, and the damage was serious. The RV was supposed to be back on a certain date, but instead the owner got a call saying it had been in an accident. That might have been bad enough, but it still took 2 more days for the damaged vehicle to show up. When it did, it wasn't just dented, the awning was gone, the inside was full of trash, and there were empty bottles and even eggs all over the place. The RV owner thought the damage was worth tens of thousands of dollars, and he had to cancel 10 plans because the RV wasn't working. He tried to get Corey to pay, but that didn't work, so he had to call the police when the news got out. The best thing that Corey's team could do was clean up the mess. His representative quickly made up a story about the RV having mechanical problems and needing to be towed. According to them, insurance was supposed to take care of it, so it wasn't Corey's problem. But let's be honest, no one believed them. His history wasn't exactly a picture of responsibility, and his name was being dragged through the mud more than ever. He might have avoided legal trouble, but his reputation was taking a beating, and that wasn't even the worst of his problems. The show was going apart, but the biggest problem wasn't legal trouble, it was a fight between 2 people that no one saw coming. Behind the scenes, it was always about more than just the deals. Corey had a serious health problem, his weight had gotten out of hand and was dangerously high. In 2010, he finally did something drastic, he had gas bypass surgery and lost over 100 pounds. But losing the weight didn't make life easier, he was still stressed out from running the pawn shop, dealing with the pressures of fame, and trying to live a healthier life. At least he had his longtime friend Chumlee, who also started losing weight around the same time, but the drama never seemed to stop, and so there were more than just the Harrison family on Pawn Stars. The show relied on so-called experts to make it seem more real. These experts were brought in to judge the value of rare and valuable items, and fans came to trust them. But that trust didn't last, and when their pasts were revealed, people started to question how much of what they said was true. One of the most famous cases was Johnny Jimenez Jr., who was known for his knowledge of old toys but was in the news in 2015 for getting arrested. It's exciting to be here at the Bay Area Tech Toy Expo, which has been packed since the first day. Today, day 2, video emerged of him allegedly attacking his girlfriend outside of a Las Vegas restaurant. He said he was only trying to help her because she was drunk, but let's be honest, no one believed him. His reputation took a big hit, and Pawn Stars started to look less like a respected show and more like a soap opera. John Resnikoff found himself in a spot of bother. People trusted this guy to tell them if signs were real or fake because he was an autograph authenticator, but in 2011 he did something very wrong. He was sure that the name on the script from The Godfather belonged to Al Pacino when it came through. It turned out that he was completely wrong. It was actually signed by the film's producer, Al Ruddy. It wasn't a huge scandal, but it made people wonder how many other mistakes he had made that no one had noticed. If he could get something so famous wrong, what else had he done wrong? But nothing compared to the scandal that hit in 2015. That year, sports memorabilia expert Drew Max was accused of fraud. His whole job was to check whether items were real or fake, but it turned out that he was okaying fake stuff that was then sold for a lot of money. People who had been scammed sued him, saying he used his TV fame to sell fake items as real ones. As the scandals mounted, viewers began to wonder how many of the supposedly valuable items on Pawn Stars were actually worthless. Some tried to defend the show by saying mistakes happen, but let's be honest, when mistakes cost people a fortune, it's not easy to brush them off. As the scandals mounted, Pawn Stars had to change its approach and pull out the city code. Apparently, in 1955, the good old boys got together and passed an ordinance that when the city population reached a quarter of a people watched because they liked learning about the past and finding out if an old thing was really worth a lot of money. But as the show went on, it lost some of its original charm and became more about stage drama than real deals. People started to doubt what they were seeing more as the cast and experts got into more trouble. Fans started to wonder how much of the show was even real. Pawn Stars used to be a show that people watched because they didn't know what would come through the door next. One day it would be a war medal from a long-ago battle, and the next it would be a strange collectible that no one had ever seen before. It felt real, like an unscripted peek into the strange world of pawning. But then there were reports that the sellers were hand-picked, the deals were staged, and the appraisals were all worked out before the cameras even rolled. The show lost its excitement, and it stopped being about history and became about drama. Pawn Stars stopped feeling real, and what used to be an exciting show was turning into just another stage drama. Nothing but fake drama could save the show, and it wasn't even the good kind. Rick and Claire used to joke around with each other in a funny way. The fights between Corey and Chumlee felt more like bad soap opera plots than real fights. Viewers weren't fooled. They saw that the focus had shifted from interesting finds to family fights and tensions between staff. People who had originally tuned in to learn about artifacts and antiques were now watching something that felt like a cheap version of the Kardashians. The cast members became exaggerated versions of who they used to be. Rick played the non-nonsense businessman a little too well. Corey was the son who always had something to prove but never quite did, and Chumlee, well, his off-screen legal problems made his goofy persona hard to buy into anymore. But the behind-the-scenes issues didn't stop with the cast. Rick saw an opportunity to cash in on the show's popularity and launch Pawn Plaza, a retail center near the famous pawn shop. It sounded like a smart business move, except it wasn't. Shops opened expecting crowds of fans eager to spend money, but the traffic never came. Businesses shut down one after another, and the owners blame Rick for not promoting the place like he promised. Lawsuits followed. The whole thing became another stain on the show's reputation, proving that just because you have a popular TV show doesn't mean you can turn your viewers into customers. It's got to have a story. Everyone loves a story. I mean, like, if you take any really expensive of antique, something that sells at Christie's for $1 million, you're buying the store. Then there was Olivia Black. She joined the Shop in 2012 quickly became a fan favorite and then just suddenly was gone. Viewers had no idea why at first, but they dug around until the truth came out. She had posed for some adult photos before joining the show, and once those pictures resurfaced she was quietly shown the door. The move didn't sit right with fans. If the show was willing to keep Chumlee around despite his legal ISS issues, why was Olivia let go over some pictures? It felt unfair, and it made Pawn Stars look like they were making up the rules as they went along. Olivia tried to fight back legally, but in the end she walked away and focused on a different career, one that didn't involve the pawn shop or reality TV. And then came the missing coin collection. In 2014 the shop found itself at the center of another scandal when a man claimed his stolen antique coins had been sold to the gold and silver pawn shop. The collection was worth about $50,000, but the store is said to have bought it for less than $2,000. By the time the police arrived, the coins were gone. Some stories said they had been melted down, while others said they were mixed in with other coins and could not be found. Even though the shop said they did nothing wrong, the damage was already done. Even though the show used to be known for being honest and knowing a lot about history, it was now being accused of handling stolen goods. Pawn Stars ran for more than 20 seasons. But by the time the 21st season started, something had changed. The show's ratings weren't what they used to be, and there were too many scandals to ignore. Rick, the businessman, had already started to focus on other projects because he knew that reality TV fame doesn't last forever. Even though Pawn Plaza didn't do well, his pawn shop became a famous landmark in Las Vegas. As for the show, its future was unclear. It might come back, but it wouldn't be the Pawn Stars that people loved so many years ago. That version of the show, the one that felt real and unpredictable, was long gone. Pawn Stars changed reality TV for better or worse. It made a family-run pawn shop famous around the world and made everyday transactions seem like exciting, historical events. But in the end, it became another example of what happens when reality TV stops feeling real: scandals, lawsuits, and bad decisions. All of it hurt the show's believability until what was left was felt hollow. Pawn Stars might make it through a few more seasons, but its best years are over. What began as an interesting look into history through the things people brought in ended up being just another overproduced reality show that forgot what made it special in the first place. Chumlee is now serving a life sentence. Is this really why Pawn Stars might shut down, or is there something even bigger going on behind the scenes? Could Rick Harrison be hiding a deeper financial crisis, or is this just another Hollywood cover-up? The most well-known pawn shop in the world is in danger, and the truth